Lindsay Cotter, your mortgage chef, coming to you from Mortgage Chef Central, Strongsville, Ohio, with Tom Abram of the Tom Abram Insurance Group of Shelter Insurance. Hello, Tom.
Hey, what's going on, Lindsay?
Lovely to see you today, sir. So today we have an insurance professional joining us, and it's very important because I get a lot of questions from folks that ask me, was my insurance good? How the hell do I know? I'm not an insurance guy, but I see a lot of them, and I know when they're not right. So I brought the professional in here to talk to you about what to expect when you talk to an insurance professional and to kind of break down some of the lingo and the ideas of talking to an agent and why it's so important to have your agent and to, secondly, know who your agent is. So, Tom, tell us why it's important to know who your agent is. This is the big one because a lot of people don't. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, you want to know who your agent is. And, if you haven't sat down with your agent at all the entire time that you've been insured with them, that's definitely a problem or a red flag. You want to sit down with them, get to know them. They got to know your house, your vehicles, whatever the case might be, so that you know that you are covered correctly, that you're not underinsured or you're not overinsured either and paying too much.
Absolutely. So it sounds like that they know who you are, so you're able to build out like a product for them. Is that how it goes? Like, so you talk to everybody, they call you, go, Tom, I need insurance, I have a car, a house, and some jewelry. So like what's the first step? Do they call you, come see you?
It's super easy. I mean, I keep it convenient for everybody. Normally I'm, most of my customers have my cell phone.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm like, hey, just shoot me a text with your date of birth, your address, et cetera, your basic
before 11 p.m.
Your basic information. I mean, sometimes I'm texting. I'm sure it's the same way with you. I'm texting clients at 8:00 at night, doing quotes for them or getting their information. Yeah. So I get all their basic information first, and then I'll start working that quote up for them. And then usually I try, I say, hey, you want to stop in my office? It's right down the street.
Cool. Yeah.
Or we can hop on a call, or we can hop on a Zoom, whatever's easier for you, so that we can go over everything. I like to meet in person just so that I can.
Nothing's lost in translation.
Exactly. I can show them, visually in front of them, can print everything out. Hey, here's the coverages. I go over every single coverage. I make sure they understand every single coverage, and I make sure that we have all the correct coverages for them.
Fantastic. So from someone that sees a lot of policies, one recently had a family member that calls me and they want to buy a new house. They live in the state, but out of the local area. And they said, well, here's my policy. And I look and I go, furs, guns, diamonds. I go, shoot, I want that. But when did you acquire diamonds, furs, and guns? Bring me some of those. She didn't have any of those, and she's paying for it. What kind of malarkey? I mean, like
some of the home policies, your normal home policies, do have very minimal coverage for some of those things. Okay, it's generally not very much. If you do have a lot of nice jewelry or anything like that, you're going to want to have an additional policy, which
and
is
that's inland marine. Have?
Yes, I do have it. It's inland marine is the nickname for it, but it's just your personal property.
So if you lose your wedding ring, this would cover that?
Correct. Yes. If it's theft, if you lose it, anything like that, it's gonna cover. So if you have any very high priced items, collections of anything, art, guns, jewelry, you're going to want to have another. Yeah. You're going to want to have another policy added onto that home policy. But if you don't have any of that, there's no reason, obviously, to pay for anything extra.
Sure, talk about guns like we got none, huh? Jeez. I'll tell you. So we got to go through that and be very cognizant of what's going on. As a lender, we like to look at stuff just to make sure it's correct. I mean, we're not insurance salespeople by any means. I'm not advising on insurance in any different way, but I know a duck when it looks like a duck, and so if it's not a duck, then there's a problem. So a couple of things we've seen are people insured for astronomical amounts and their houses are appraised for much less than that. What is that about? And it's usually with the big box insurance companies. And I said, well, what happened? They go, well, that's just the number they gave me. I mean, what the heck? How do you figure out what to insure someone for?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things we look at. We have a software that we use that kind of looks at, we put the address in and everything. It brings up all the information for that house. Great. I'll double check it. I'll make sure that nothing needs adjusted or changed or anything like that. And it brings up the typical value to if something would, God forbid, something would happen to that house. The rebuild and the debris removal for that. So we kind of use that, and then we look at a couple other things and try to come up with the most accurate number, and it's usually pretty spot on. So like I said before, you don't want to be underinsured. because God forbid something does happen, your house burns down, then you're not going to have enough coverage to rebuild it. But if you're overinsured, then you're just paying for extra coverage that, hopefully you never have to use it. But if you do, you're just paying for extra coverage that you're never going to use, even if something did happen.
Sounds like a mess. Yeah. It sounds like if you don't know what
it comes down to, exactly. It comes down to you want to know your agent.
That's
the
great.
biggest thing.
That's very important for everyone. The same with your lender, your mortgage lender. We don't put you as a number. You call the big companies. We're like, who's this again? We all know who you are. We're working with you, and we talked to you 37 times. So let me tell you, we like you. We want to talk to you. We want you to call with questions. That's the whole difference. Where the other folks are like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 social security numbers calling again. What do they want? No, it's not a burden for us. We want to chat with you. So it's funny you bring up that God forbid something happens. I have a very good friend that's in the Youngstown area who works with us who recently, unfortunately, had an electrical fire. And it took out most of his kitchen and it hit the roof. And I saw some pictures of it. So he's living with a family member trying to get back. So say something like that does happen. What happens then? Like, oh my gosh, like problems happen. I have an insurance agent that I trust and know. Like, do they call you? Do they call like shelter? Like, what do they do?
Yeah. So if anything big like that would ever happen, I always tell my customers to give me a call. Okay. Because they all have my personal, cell phone number. Sure. Obviously, you're going to want to call the fire department, things like that.
Don't call him first. Call the fire department.
Call 911.
He does not have a fire truck. He's like, hold on, let me call 911 in a three-way event. No. We've now crossed some imaginary line of everything burning down. So
now, if one of my clients did have a house fire, I would want to show up on scene just to make sure they're okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Make sure they're okay, their family's okay. See if they need anything.
Yep.
And then right away, we're going to start the claim process and get the ball rolling so that we can get them situated, and everything back to normal as fast as we can.
So when someone comes out to review the house that was damaged, where do they come from? Are they local? Do they come from?
Yeah, so we have local adjusters that will come out, and they'll look at the house, they'll look at the car, whatever's going on, and I'm in touch with them. So that's one thing that's really good about Shelter. Is I know my underwriters, I know my adjusters. So
me too. I love that. Makes life easy.
So I can just pick up my phone, give them a call, and say, "Hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? What's going on?" Basically, so I stay on top of it. So I make sure that it's just a seamless thing for the customer.
Perfect. So if I was to say, what's one thing if you had folks that had insurance questions that would be like a pitfall? Like other than maybe not knowing your agent, is there anything that with insurance that you would say maybe like not updating it often or not checking it or not calling in to change things? Anything that like if I'm not an insurance professional, I'm just Lindsay, the mortgage guy, which I am, anything that you're like, hey, dude, just a heads up from the professional, which you are, like do this.
Well, yeah, so you always want to check your stuff, make sure that it's insured for the right. Ironically, I have a friend from high school that I just reached out to potentially quote her personal insurance. And what made me reach out to her is because I saw that she had a minor accident. Okay. So I reached out to her, made sure she was all right. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And so the company, which I'm not going to name, so they didn't have the right vehicle on her insurance.
Oh, great.
So it was a one-car vehicle. She lost control, went into the median. And to go to find out is they didn't even have her vehicle insured.
Oh,
so she's been paying this whole time for not even the right vehicle. So then on top of them saying, we're not going to cover your vehicle, she's like, well, then you should almost refund me the cost because I wasn't even paying for this vehicle. And they said no. So she's at a total loss, and I feel terrible for her. So after she gets that worked out, I'm going to look at her stuff for her. I told her I'd be glad to, and stop by, whatever the case might be. But things like that, you want to make sure. And it's like the fact that the agent had, they had the wrong vehicle and no one caught it. You hear stories like that. It's just crazy. And it's always when something happens.
Of course. Don't wait till then.
You get in a car accident. Don't wait till then. You don't know your coverages. You don't know your deductibles. You get in a car accident. Something happens on the home. Before you know it, you have an outrageous, let's say, crazy deductible, and you're like, what is this? So you want to know your coverages. You want to know your agent. You want to stay on top of it.
Makes sense. So basically what he's saying is take 5 minutes of your life, see where you're at. If you don't know your agent or they're not calling you back or you just want to talk to a professional, call Tom because he'll review it. So you're not handing money and they're kicking you in the shin on the way back, because literally that sounds like what happened to her. That's horrible. And in 5-minute review, probably could have saved her a lot of drama and ton of the cash.
Thousands of dollars.
So, yeah. Well, it was great seeing you, Tom. I appreciate you running through all this stuff. If anybody needs anything, Tom, what's your phone number?
Yeah, so like I said, I give everyone my direct line. It's 440-539-5035.
11 p.m.'s the cutoff. Just
give me a ring, shoot me a text, whatever's easier.
All right, everybody. We'll see you soon.